Yeah, Alex, when you go back and look at Saturday's game, what stood out to you from your group? We just heard Lincoln talk about sort of the guys almost feeling like the game was in hand there in the second half. Is that something that you noticed, and how do you fix that or change that mentality moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's the numbers. I think to that specific point in terms of the performance in the second half is watching scoreboards to dictate your performance is a slippery slope. On every side of it, when the scoreboard's in your favor, when it's not in your favor, and I certainly think the film would suggest we're guilty of it, and our history suggests that we're guilty of that at times, which isn't a real proud moment for a coach to say that. But what's the film show? Beyond that, and including that would be, execution. What wasn't, again, what I believe we're capable of doing. Again, right now it's just my belief because the film suggests that's exactly who we are with a one-game evaluation. But I believe our execution should be better. The film suggests that the things we've been repping for 8 months, we weren't able to execute on Saturday. Again, that pains you as a coach to say that's not a player's fault, that's a coach's fault. It's if I told him 1,000 times and he's still not doing it, right? Who's that reflect poorly on, the player or the coach? And we take the approach that's the coach, and so we got to do a better job that way. But to see some of those moments, things that specifically scoring plays that not only you practice that particular week, but again you go back to spring football, you could show the players a rep or a similar rep. That when the lights come on, we're not able to execute. And so very disappointed in that. Haven't talked in this room, I think, a lot about effort after the game being anything but at a very high standard. I was disappointed in our effort. I thought it was okay. It's not okay to be okay here. And we play 31 guys. Which I'd like to be proud of, but we don't play 31 guys so you get more rest. We play 31 guys so we can get your absolute best. And I don't think we got that across the board, which again is a reflection of myself in particular and the defensive staff. But the film also shows some obviously positive things. They were too few and far between. Certainly the final drive, you got to go win a football game. And you better go win a football game, and those guys did, and I give them credit for that. And we sit here 1-0. We feel a whole lot different. It was 0-1. So obviously, clearly, a lot of work to do, and that's a long answer. I know.
Alex, is it tough for those guys to develop a rhythm when they're coming on and off every couple plays?
I don't believe so. I think the film would suggest that. Fatigue sets in a lot more than they rally their arms around each other and say, we're out here together. The film suggests that fatigue sets in very quickly, especially in an environment like we had on Saturday. That I'm not saying we're going to play 31 guys every week. They got to earn the right to do that. I thought in that particular game, under those particular circumstances, week one, it was the appropriate thing to do. Certainly the results would maybe tell otherwise. So believe me, we're looking at that. So I don't want to defend a stance when the film suggests that, that's a very appropriate question to ask. But I think a little bit different defensively than it is on offense. I think you're switching quarterbacks every play or the center every play and something like that. I think defensively, guys making communications and those things. There wasn't a whole lot of issues communication-wise. It still comes down to executing, which comes down, if I'm the strong safety, I better be the strong safety. If I'm playing defensive tackle, the expectation is the best defensive tackle in the United States of America on that play. And those two positions better have nothing to do with each other in terms of whether I perform my particular responsibility, regardless of who the three technique is, if I'm the boundary corner, But that's something that always, if it's not specific to continuity, then it's specific to something else in terms of rotating. So believe me, that's you don't leave that game and trumpet playing 31 guys because the results don't show that was maybe in our best interest.
Yeah, how did you feel like Billy played on Saturday?
Yeah, I think one of the bright spots. I really do. You get so wrapped up in obviously the negative, which is a responsible thing to do. But first college football game, I thought he played extremely well. One-handed catch on him, first play of the game. which that's what catches should look like. It should have to be a perfect throw, outside shoulder, one-handed catch. It shouldn't be, easy at the catch point. But overall, I thought he tackled well. He'd like to have that interception, but just see a DB go attack a football, which I wish I would have saw more of over the course of the day. As a young guy in the program, I've seen a lot of guys play their first college snaps and look a whole lot less comfortable and less prepared than what Billy was. So I was pleased with his first performance.
Myron Patton?
Can a game get a guy that looks different in practice? And I guess I'm looking, like you mentioned some busts on Saturday, like remember the tight end running down the field, nobody went with him. Running back comes out a couple times,
yeah.
Nobody went with him. Is that a situation that you don't recognize it, or is sometimes a game is just different than a practice?
Yeah, I mean, in every individual case, there's you wish there was just one broad stroke and say it was this. But certainly that happens. You wish sometimes you could show the world Tuesday's practice, or show them Wednesday's practice and say, "Don't see, this is what we are," and it doesn't work like that. It's game day is the only evaluatable tool that the world gets to see you perform at, as individual guys and obviously us collectively. So it is possible. I wish it wasn't. Now, on the flip side is when you don't execute something in practice, sure, it's fun. All of a sudden, we get an interception in the game on similar plays, and so that's why you practice. I will say this: a lot of the things we saw on Saturday, we saw last week in practice, both on the positive side and the negative side. And that's how this thing works. You believe in preparation or you don't. But you got to look at that too, and you say, okay, why is that? Why is it because the lights came on? Is it because you're fatigued? Is it because that you didn't train through fatigue on Tuesdays and Wednesdays that all of a sudden you gave into fatigue maybe on Saturday? Or did you simply go out there and lose focus, or you just poorly coached? And so all those things we got to analyze.
Alex, you guys, I think you ended up with 3 quarterback hurries, 4 sacks. It seemed like the defensive line was getting a lot more pressure even than that. Did you like what you got out of your defensive line, or were there things that were still lacking in your line?
I think there was bright spots. I think if you're not careful and you say, "Oh, look how close we were," and champion that as saying, next time we'll have 8 sacks. Or, the product on the field suggests we had 4 sacks, which was good. I think we were close several other times. There's also obviously 11 guys working in unison to make them hold the ball for one click longer to allow some of those things. So it's not just those guys up front. It's the guys on the back end. Some of the ball comes out fast, depending on what offense is doing. Some of those things, we saw quite a bit of that. Saw a quarterback, played very tough, stand in the pocket, and was willing to take hits, which, you don't always see, which give them, those guys credit. But no, I thought certainly at times I struggled sometimes to, look at the close calls and say, look how great that is, how close we are. That is a slippery slope to go down. But I expect more from our defensive front. I do, specifically from a strain standpoint. Did you not get home because the ball came out quickly, or is there something that you can do from a physical standpoint, from an effort standpoint, to get yourself there a click sooner? And we're going to look at it through that lens right now. Again, just one evaluation so far this year.
How did you feel like your linebackers played? I know you played a lot of them. I don't know if I saw Witter in there. I did see him on special teams. Where's he kind of at in your linebacker hierarchy, and what did you think about that group? Yeah,
I thought overall it wasn't to the standard that we expect to play. It wasn't to the standard a lot of those guys have played in the past. I think in fairness to them, that's nowhere way to describe it. I predict that it's the outlier. I think they're a well-coached unit. I think they've, as I told the guys yesterday, so many of these guys that we have frustrations with after game one, we've hugged after championships. Big-time ball games and played at a high level, borderline elite level. To see the same guys perform the way they did last Saturday is something that pains you as a coach. So no, I expect a lot more from them. And Shane Witter's status in this program has to get a whole lot better. He's got to be more accountable, both on and off the football field.
Yeah, did anything Tulane do surprise you? First game of the year, you're not exactly sure what you're going to see. How much of it was just a scheme problem?
Yeah, I would love to say, I would love to say we're surprised by everything they did, and that's just not the reality of it. You know, and certainly I thought, you know, you got to give them credit from an execution standpoint. You know, there's some things, you know, what you know, so often offenses do is they put you in conflict with a run pass, you know, some jet sweeps, some unbalanced looks, but ultimately it came down to execution. And you know, they did a better job of that in some of those scenarios specifically, you know, you know, finding ways to score points in the red zone. Our inability to respond to sudden change situations. I think there were 3. We talk about making teams count in threes. We didn't do that. No, it's something you always analyze. You know, and that's the last thing you want to do as a coach is ever put your guys in a situation where you feel like you're unsound and you didn't give them an opportunity to be successful. So you're always looking at that. But in the end, I think the kids would trumpet it as well. You know, it really just came down to execution.
Any more questions? All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you all.